This is the Build Right podcast, where business and construction come together. Each week, we talk with builders and industry leaders about what it really takes to run a world-class construction company. If you're ready to build better, lead smarter, you're in the right place. Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, Scott Raffensperger. With me today is Gregg Biche of Quality Design and Remodel. It was Quality PM.
It was Quality PM, yep.
Now it's Quality Design.
Remodel, yep.
So say hi, Greg.
I am Gregg Biche of Quality Design Remodel.
So you want to give everybody a little background of what you do and where you're located?
We're located in Del Mar and in Clifton Park. We do home remodeling and home design. So we started out, maybe 22, 23 years ago, and we were doing property management. And that quickly evolved into decks, any kind of small projects like that. I did some relocation work for real estate companies through the property management end of it. And then it just started to snowball with remodeling. So we started doing kitchens, baths, additions, just about anything that we could do. And now today we really operate out of our Del Mar office in Clifton Park, where we do most of our design work. We have designers on staff, and we do every aspect of the project. Mm-hmm. And that's about sums up what we're doing right now.
How long have you guys been open?
Well, I incorporated the business in August of 2003. It was a much different business back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you ever an LLC or you're?
No, I've always been an S Corp.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been incorporated since the day that we started it. And that was some good advice from lawyers and accountants back then. Mm-hmm. We changed the name. It's been about 2 years since we changed the name. And it was really just to make it very clear what we do. The Quality PM name was a name that wasn't really for clients. It was just a name that we had back then. And, now that we're doing so much of the design and remodel work, it was confusing for people. So changing the name just made it very clear. We still operate under Quality PM as our S Corp name, but we don't use that client facing.
Right.
Because we do own a decent amount of property, and we manage our own stuff.
So are you structured as a DBA under Quality?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty seamless.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Clients don't know the difference. It's, they just know us as Quality Design Remodel. Same company, same people.
How was that rebranding process?
The rebranding was way more than I ever thought it could be. It's been a couple of years now that we brought in our own marketing person, our own marketing manager. And without him doing it, I don't know that we would have been successful with the name change, because you don't think about how many things really go into it. And after you've been in business for 20 years, right, your logo, your shirts, your trucks, your checks, your website, everything online. I still get people saying Quality PM every once in a while, but it's not often, because he did such a good job of getting everything done. And we had this lead up that might have been maybe close to a year on the lead up of making that change. And then it's like you flicked a switch and it just worked, and he had everything changed. You'd go on our website. I think we found 2 spots out of everything that we have that we overlooked, and we adjusted that within the first month. But it was a hard change.
So how did you do that? You say the lead up, like if you're changing a website, do you have an edit page that you have everything ready and then you just click the go button type of thing?
Yeah, we even worked with a public relations firm too. So they gave us a bunch of information about things that we may have been overlooking, just things to make you ready for it. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was a long time to get it done.
Do you think brand is important?
I do. I very much do. I think brand is why we're successful. Getting the name out. When people talk about marketing all the time for remodeling or for just about anything, and we market a lot, but we don't market call to action. Our marketing is branding. Mm-hmm. You don't really necessarily see people say, hey, I want to do my kitchen and I want to do it next week. Or if they do, we're not a good fit for them anyway. But when we put our marketing out there, it's more so that we're in your mind. We're the first one that you think about when you do want to do a certain level of a project. And, as far as our branding, it's way more than I ever knew. It's not just what you do and how you do it, but it's how you say it. It's how you put yourself out there. It's the font that you use. It's the voice that you use. It's the tone you talk in. Mm-hmm. All of these things come into your brand.
So we'll touch base on marketing in a little bit, but you're saying you more or less advertising instead of like a fire sale. Click here for
that's not us.
10% off a kitchen remodel type of thing. Yeah.
No, it's just definitely not the avenue that I've ever wanted to take. You know, there's plenty of companies out there that, you know, I don't know if they're kind of franchise type for kitchens and baths, and they're always offering this discount or, you know, sign by this date and you get this. And it's just not the image that we want to have out there.
How did you come up with the name? A lot of guys in the area, I'm sure this is common amongst, you know, all the industries throughout the U.S., they use their last name. You know?
I did not want that, you know, because I think when you have it as your name, you're limiting your possibilities. And listen, as we've grown, I've really, it's been very clear to me, it's not me, it's everybody that works for me. So if it's just my name, it's not fair to everybody else that's involved. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and every employee has a big say in what goes on. So the name, Quality Design and Remodel, we actually put out surveys. You know, we did, you know, the Survey Monkey things to past clients. You know, our marketing manager polled a bunch of people. It was a lot of time even to just thinking about that, but it came down to it has all of the things that we think we do and we're part of. Quality, we're going to design it and we're going to remodel it. So it was just a really good fit. And there's no more confusion. You know, Quality PM, what is that?
Yeah.
You know, I had some people say, you know, do you sell mattresses? Like, because of the free and, you know, just having that quality design or model, you're not going to be confused by that. You know what we do.
Yeah. You kept, obviously, the first word, quality, and your logo's the same, correct?
It is, yes.
So that, I'm assuming, helped. It's not like you were just totally taking a 180.
Yeah, that's not the original logo we had when we started. But I changed that many, many years ago. And it was nice to be able to keep that.
I know when I started out, I wanted to do, you know, you're young, right? And I wanted to use my last name as a company name.
Yep.
Fortunately for me, it's too long.
So, yours would be a tough one, but so is mine. I mean, let's be honest. My name has been butchered for years.
Yeah, and then also future outlook. Like, if you want to down the road sell, it's hard to sell something with your name attached to it. It's hard enough to sell a construction business to begin with, but then when you attach your name to it, it's just another string.
Yeah, like I said, I just think it limits you.
Yeah. So where did you start? Back to the beginning. Were you in the field? Were you a carpenter? Were you a mason? What was your specialty?
Well, going way back, you know, my short stay at college, which wasn't for me, so I didn't last very long. I left there and I was working for Callahan Industries, which is the paving company. You're familiar with them? And I started out doing some blacktop stuff, and then I ended up getting involved with their property division. They own a lot of property, and they had to keep it up and fix it up. And I worked under a carpenter, and he really kind of, you know, got into me. I really liked it. I liked it a lot. So I ended up getting laid off from there, seasonal layoffs, like, you know, they do every year. And I hated that idea. I hated that was happening. So I knew I never wanted that to happen again, but I wasn't quite ready to do my own thing. So I went to work for a remodeling company who taught me everything not to do in business. It was probably one of the worst people that you could ever work for, remain nameless, but they definitely taught me in what not to do. So I worked there for it's probably longer than I should have. And then after that, I went and started doing property maintenance myself, and in the property management, like I spoke about. And it just kind of snowballed from there once I started Quality PM in 2003.
How old were you?
Oh, let me see, I'm 49 now, so I must have about 25, 26.
And the direction you wanted to go when you first started, was that specifically geared towards the property management, or?
You know, I don't know that I really knew at that point, to be honest. I always I just liked doing stuff with my hands. I liked business. And then, you know, you fast forward years from there, and I just realized I'm better at the business end than I was ever at the hands-on. And today you go into my business, if I ever showed up at a job site, you know, with a tool belt on, they'd probably hit me in the head with a hammer and say, go home, because that's just not my world. It's not something that I'm good at. People that I hired are way better at it than I ever was. And I really love the business end and more. So that's the path I've continued down.
Did you ever see that transition happening? Or is that a surprise to you?
It was slow. It's not like all of a sudden one day I said, I'm not going to be in the field every day. I'm going to sit in an office. I can actually remember the point where I felt like I was getting in the way in the field. You know, my phone would ring. I'd be on the phone all the time, not getting things done on a job site. So it was like you just kind of slowly backed away, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I haven't really been doing any hands-on work in a considerable amount of time, and this seems to be working better. You know, hiring people that are really good at each trade, let them do their job.
Mm-hmm. When did you fully step out?
Oh God, I'd say it's probably been maybe about 15 or 16 years.
That long?
Yeah.
So you noticed pretty early that
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was in Delmar, right?
Yep. That's where most of our work was back then. Actually, when I first started the business, a lot of it seemed to be in Niskayuna. It was just, you know, when you're young and you do a good job, and they're smaller jobs, and you do it for one house, and then, you know, it's just kind of a snowball. It just keeps going from there. And then when I first started incorporated the business, my office was on Railroad Avenue in Albany. And we were there for quite a while. And then I started a family, and I live in Delmar, so we ended up getting a warehouse and a small office space in Delmar. And we were there for a few years, and then we bought an office building, put a little design center in there, and we still have that location as well.
When you stepped out of the field originally, did you have an office space, or were you working out of your house?
I was out of my house at that point in time. Yeah, I was out of the basement of my house, and at that time it was my stuff was packed in the garage. I had a warehouse, or not even a warehouse; it was a storage unit. Most of our stuff was. Yeah.
How many guys do you have in the field at that point?
It was me, and are you talking about when I first started, or when I
first decided I got to start stepping out of the field?
I think there's probably 4 or 5 of us at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any office staff?
So one of my long-term employees, John Giovanetti, he's been with me for the whole time, 23 years. His wife was doing bookkeeping for us.
Okay.
Yep. And she had a nice office and desk next to my furnace in the basement.
No kidding, really?
Yeah.
So you go from your house to a couple different locations, then you buy that place in Delmar.
Yep.
Why settle there? It's just,
you know, it was partially business, but it was also partially family. I had a very young family at that time, you know, so it was easier. You know, you got to drop the kids off at daycare, pick them up, and then as they get into school, it's 5 minutes from my house, and it was 3 minutes from the kids' school. So It just worked for us. And that's where I'm from. So I knew a lot of people, and it's a great town to do work in. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd love to say I designed it that way, but I got a little bit of lucky there. You know, there's not a lot of new construction in the Delmar area. There's, you know, a good amount of money in the area, a lot of people that want to do a good amount of work. So if you want a new place, you really can't go out and build a house. You have to take what you have and what's available, and you have to remodel it. So we've been successful doing it in that community for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's really where I would say we've mostly built our name, is in the Delmar area.
Did you ever do new construction?
I have, and I still do, but it's not something that we market towards. Maybe a house a year. Mm-hmm. You know, a couple of times we'll do 2 houses in a year, and then maybe a year we don't do a house. A lot of times it's past clients that won't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
They just really want us to build the home for them. And, you know, I do enjoy it. We're not going to do a basic home. You know, we want something that's a little bit more interesting. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously new construction takes longer than remodel projects. Our typical remodels are 3 to 4 months, where the new construction can be, you know, much longer than that. And my attention span isn't that long unless it's pretty detailed and a fun project.
Did you enjoy the new construction as much or less or more than with?
Definitely less.
Yeah,
definitely less. You know, I kind of like the development part of it. You know, getting everything ready, getting the land ready. But then, you know, once you have to, I don't know, the foundation work and the framing and all that kind of stuff, that wasn't anything that really interested me that much.
Mm-hmm. So when did you decide you were going to focus mainly on renos?
I would say it was probably around 2007, 2008 is when we really said, this is what we're getting really good at. And this is what our systems are geared towards. And this is what people are starting to really know us for. And this is what we really like to do. Mm-hmm. So let's just really focus on that. And ever since then, it's, you know, even back then we were focused on renovations, but we would do just about any renovation. You know, if somebody called us for some oddball thing, we were going to do it. You know, because you're young in business and you need the cash flow. You need to make it work. But I think every year since then, our marketing has just been narrowed. So we really know what jobs we want, what jobs we're good at, and that's what we market towards now. And we don't tend to deviate from that very much, except for past clients. Past clients call us. We're going to do just about anything for them that they need to keep them engaged. But our new clientele, like if you call us just to build your deck, we're not going to build a deck for you. But if you call us and you want your kitchen and bath done and you need your deck done, we'll tack that on.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that focus aspect is so difficult for all businesses, but mainly in the construction industry to hone in on, because they want to get every job that comes in the door, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Or it's like the old adage, you can do anything but not everything. So you got to pick something, right?
Well, I think all business owners start out with that concern of, what's my next job going to be? And then all of a sudden you have a month worth of work, and what's next month going to be? And to fill those spots, you will take just about anything that comes along. And I think it is hard to stay focused, even as you are a more mature business. To just say, this is just all I'm going to do. If you're not getting a ton of work at that point in time, it's hard to stick to that.
Yeah.
And just keeping your pipeline full can be a nerve-wracking thing. I've had some younger people ask me even recently, when did you stop worrying about when you're going to have enough work? And I said, well, I don't know. I'll tell you if it ever happens, because it hasn't happened yet. There was times where we were 14 months out with work, and you worry about the 15th month. It's the nature of the business.
How far do you guys try to stay out now?
I think a sweet spot for us is about 7 or 8 months. The way that our design cycle works and the amount of time that it takes to really get a project designed and developed and ready for production, it's a considerable amount of time. So, if we get towards the 4 or 5 month mark, that's a little too light for me.
Mm-hmm. That design phase of the project, do you find that that's taking about just as long, if sometimes more, than the project itself?
For us, it is absolutely longer. Mm-hmm. And most of that is by design. Sometimes it's clients that, they sign on for a large project, and they're really anxious and they want to get going, and then they get into it and it's a lot, and they tend to slow down on decisions. But I think that almost every time the design takes longer to get prepped than the production does. Mm-hmm. But that also, the reason we're able to get through our projects so quickly is because we spend so much time on design.
Right.
There aren't a lot of questions that we have to ask a client after we start their project.
Right.
When we're in there doing demo, we're ready to go. We know everything that's going to be done. Everything's ordered, everything's ready to go.
So what is your process? Start me from the beginning. If somebody walks in the door, how do you handle them?
Well, most people don't walk in our door to get started. It's usually a phone call. It's usually filling out our website online or a contact form on our website. And that goes in, and our general manager takes the information, calls them back, kind of evaluates if it's a good fit for us or not. Mm-hmm. And if it is a good fit, we'll schedule them to come into our design center, or sometimes we'll go out to their home and just talk more about what is it that you're looking for, what is it that you're looking for in a remodeler, what's your expectation on timing, investment range, just to make sure everything is a good fit for both sides. And then if it is, I usually send them out kind of in a general investment range. This is kind of what we think it's going to cost you to do this type of project, and I'll throw some allowances in for the materials that they need to buy. And if they're comfortable enough and they want to work with us, they will go to a design agreement. Once you sign off on a design agreement, we go back out to their house, we take all the measurements, we get all the details that we need. It's usually myself, project manager, and a designer. And then we'll start doing floor plans for them.
So before you get to that design agreement phase, how much time do you think you have invested in that?
I have a really good system. So it's not a ton of time. The kind of jobs that we go after, and I think this is goes back to saying that, we're really going towards specific projects. If somebody's coming to me for a kitchen, whether it's small, medium, or large, we've done 100 small, 100 medium, 100 large ones. So we have a lot of data to see where we think they're going to be based on, we go back into allowances for past projects, see what those actually cost, their cabinets, their countertops, their plumbing fixtures, and look at all the labor for those past jobs. So I can look at them really quickly, and I can come up with a general investment range for people. I'm not somebody that's going to sit down and spend 8 hours and write you a whole estimate if you're just not sure what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. We're going to make sure that, again, we're a good fit, and you're okay with these different types of investments. You're okay with, making the time to make appointments in the design center, making time to, be available to answer questions and move forward with the project.
Have you ever had clients that come and you give them a general range say for a kitchen, 100 to 150,000, and they say, we don't have a budget.
Oh,
How do you handle that?
Everybody says they don't have a budget. So, well, $1 million. Okay, that's good. No, that's too much. And you can. There's always a way to get to it. And I don't do it. I'm not asking that question because I'm trying to get a high number out of them. I just want to know a number. There's still people out there that, they think their kitchen's going to be $50,000. And it's just if we start hearing that, we know it's not going to work. We'll explain to them why. What it really costs to do some of these projects now. But yeah, getting a number out of people is tough.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could equate it to maybe going to buy a car. If you want to spend $30,000 on a car, you're probably not going to tell the car salesman, I want to spend 30. You're going to say 25.
Yeah.
I want to set realistic expectations for them so that they don't get into a design process and, not have the right expectation of what these things are going to cost and be disappointed in the future.
Yeah, a lot of that I think comes from building trust in that relationship, whether it's your name, them looking up your reputation, your reviews, those first couple interactions you have with them, and then they say, okay, I feel comfortable with this person, and I can kind of let go and give him a number. He's not just trying to pull a car salesman technique on me.
Yeah, the other thing for us is you're not really signing a contract until we're done with design. They're paying us to do our design work, but it's not a huge amount of money compared to the size of the project. So by the time you've spent enough time with our designers, our project managers, our carpenters, they've all been in your house. You've been introduced to everybody. You spent hours with them. So before you're ever signing a contract, you feel like you know these people, and there's definitely a level of comfort there.
Yeah.
Where, if you're just handing somebody an estimate and, hey, here it is, $150,000, sign it and we'll move forward, that's hard. I'd have a hard time doing that.
Absolutely. Especially if they're going to live in your house for 4 or 6 months. Yeah.
Yep.
I get that.
The remodeling's a lot different too than home building. You are in people's lives. You're right in their house with their kids, their family, their pets every day, disrupting their life. So they need to really trust you.
Hopefully not disrupting too much.
Exactly. Yeah.
But so you get to the sales contract, you sign that, and then you physically are still involved with that design process. You will go to their house or no?
I go for that initial meeting. So we call it our on-site consultation. The initial measure of what we first do after the design agreement's signed. And it's my opportunity to bring by a project manager and a designer and introduce them to the client. I introduce them to everything that, we talked about, what the project is to date. They always know that they're not signing off and this is what you have to do. We can change anything. They can make the project less. They can make the project more. They can change from the kitchen to the back, whatever it is, because we all know they evolve from day one. But that initial measure is my chance to hand it off.
Yeah,
that's where you guys take it from here. And then I really am. I'm involved because I see everything. We have great systems within our company, so you see things through our checklists and through our different processes. But I'm not interacting with the client from that point forward, pretty much.
Right. Do you think you'll ever step out of that initial meeting role? Or are you trying?
I will. I do really love that. I love the sales end of it. I love walking into somebody's house and they're like, I don't know what I want, and really talking with them and working through that with them. Mm-hmm. I do enjoy that, but I also realize, just like every aspect of my business and most businesses that grow, you learn that you're the block. You're the one that is holding everybody else back when you're the one person that does one project or one job. You have to be out of the way so that everybody else can do their work.
Yeah.
So if I'm the only one doing, sales or whatever it is, sooner or later, you can't handle it all and still do everything else that you need to do. Mm-hmm. So you need to step aside and let other people do that work. And just about every position I've ever hired for, I've been happy to say that, you bring in people and they do that job better than you could do it because they're focused on one job instead of you as an owner, doing sales, doing estimating, doing production, doing all these different things and going a million different directions.
When you have different layers with the designer, project manager, some of the carpenters that are coming on site, what softwares do you use to make sure that everyone is communicating on the same level?
The three main softwares that we have is Asana, which is a project management type of software, and Builder-Trend, another project management type of software. Asana we use to manage our design end, so everything leading up to the production, and Builder-Trend is design plus production, and then Chief Architects is what we use for drawing. Those are our three main technologies. And at this point in time, it's, I don't know what I would do without them. We just become so reliant on them. But we're able to do the level and amount of work that we do because of those systems. My whiteboard has been long gone.
You don't use a whiteboard anymore?
No, I used to have it with all my, these are the estimates you got to do, and these are the jobs coming up, and you erase it and move. I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah. I had one as well, and I fought it. I still have a legal pad that I carry with me every day,
anymore.
but 99% of our stuff is on our software, our project management software that we use, or QuickBooks, because it's all there and it's at your fingertips no matter where you are.
Well, what I like about these other technologies, so say Asana or Buildertrend, is it's not just something that I have. It's open to everybody in my company. Financials and everything. We are a very open book with everybody. So, say our design process is in Asana, there might be 150 steps that we have to go through to make a project from that initial measure till it's ready for production. And I don't have to stand over a designer's shoulder to see what's going on. We just look and see where they are in the process. We can compare that against our timelines to make sure everything's lining up. And if it's not, then we step in and we help them out and get things back on track. But it's same with the production end. Buildertrend, are you familiar with Buildertrend? I think a lot of people, if they don't use it, they use something similar nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's just a platform where you can give people the freedom to do their job without you standing over them. And it has checklists for them. It has schedules for them. You can interact through it with clients, with the rest of the people on your team. So it's just a really handy tool for us.
A lot of setup, right?
Tons of setup. I think probably about 8 years ago, I was first introduced to it. And, we were a smaller company then. And I said, all right, I love this. I went to IBS, let's make this work. And we, dove in and we fell on our face. It was too much. It was one of those things where you can't just dive all in because it's too much information and too much change. So we took a step back, and I think it was a year later, I went back in and we started using, the schedule feature, then time clock feature, then daily logs. And then every month we were adding something. And now, 8 years later, it runs just about every aspect of our production part of our business and very well.
Have you ever thought about a different software? Like, I know a lot of guys, bigger companies, commercial in general, use Procore.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Procore. I think Buildertrend works very well for us, for the size of our business. And even if we were to double our size, I think it would still be a good fit for us. And I think the unfortunate answer is once you're really into one of these things, I mean, it would be tough to switch.
Oh yeah. They get you. That's how they get you.
Yeah, I think some of them are making it so that, hey, we'll help you make that switch. So if you're jumping from one platform to another, they're going to, give you so many free hours to make that switch. But I don't know, it's got to be tough to do. And I think Buildertrend, just like any other software, I think it's great. It's not 100%, it's probably 80%, but I think all software is like that. Nothing's going to ever fit your business 100%.
I think softwares are great. I think you can get overboard with them, like as far as different softwares. And I know they're coming out with filler softwares now that link certain calendars together and things like that. That's one of the things that we're doing currently is trying to link all of our calendars into our project management software, because we've got a calendar for remodel, new construction. We've got our software. People send me stuff on Outlook.
Yeah.
We've got the podcast calendar. So like getting those all in one location is tough to use. I know you sent me we were meeting for an appointment and you sent me a format. I don't remember what.
Oh, so I did forget a technology. Yeah, we use HubSpot. So
that was
HubSpot is our
neat.
CRM, and it's I would equate it to Buildertrend. Like, it was tough. It still is tough because we're only a couple of years into it, and it's a tough one to learn.
Is that just scheduling?
Oh no, it's everything. It's marketing. It's sales. It's a CRM. It does a lot. And I think that's one of those technologies where we're 2 years in and we're probably at 15% of its functionality.
Mm-hmm.
You could just keep going and going and going with it.
Why did you start it?
My marketing manager really pushed me to do it. And Buildertrend has a CRM aspect to it. It's not great. It worked for us for the time that we needed it, but we outgrew it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's mainly our communication with clients from the time that they fill out a form online or call us. Everything is documented in there, and a lot of it is automatic. Marketing emails that go out to them, reminder emails, all that stuff, scheduling. It's nice to not call back and forth for, you want an appointment for whatever it is. Like you said, the one we made, you just send them a link and then they can find your calendar and find a time that works.
Yeah.
But that's just such a small part of that software.
Yeah. Well, it can make your life easier if you use it properly, right?
Yeah.
If you use it properly.
Yes.
But I know for ours, we've been on it 4 years now. I still struggle with a lot of it. I use it for certain things, and Kristen uses it for other things, or guys in the field use it for, everybody has a certain thing that they use it for. And, I'm not good at all of them. I'm just good at the ones that I use, but you can get pretty into depth with the estimating too, which even down to unit pricing for doing a house, like, what a 2x4 costs. And it's like, all right, how much do we want to break this down? That's kind of the balance that we're trying to figure as well.
Yeah. Well, we actually do our estimating through Buildertrend. They have a portal for it, and a lot of people just really don't like it. But I think it's another one of those things where it's just tough to get set up, and it's frustrating to get set up. But once you get it set up, it's basically a catalog of everything that you do. So if you're putting together a proposal, you take all the different pieces that you already built out and you put it together, and it's quick.
Do you have pricing in there for different, like sheetrock, for example?
Yep. Everything.
How does that update?
Oh, you have to update it yourself. But one of the nice features is, say, I don't know, your plumber has a unit cost for installing a faucet, and he changes his price. You can go in and just change that price. And if you have a bunch of estimates outstanding that haven't been approved, you hit OK, and it'll update those. So if somebody has it, it'll automatically get the new price.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a pretty sweet feature.
It is. Yeah. There's a lot of little features like that.
Mm-hmm. So you use, obviously sounds like you've got this thing rocking now. You just opened up your second location. That was a huge growth point, I'm sure.
That was
kind of your move for the next level of growth. A lot of guys in the remodeling industry, there's different tiers, right? Like we were talking about before the show. Yeah. I think the first one is probably the 750 to $1 million as your gross.
Yeah.
And that just comes from working hard and hustling. Then you've got like the 1 to 3, right?
Yep.
Where you're gaining traction. You've got a couple key players involved. You're getting some of your processes in place. To break over that, what are some things that you need in place to break over that 3 million mark?
If you ask me, it's one thing, it's delegate. Let other people do what they're good at and get out of the way. Because you can't do it all yourself. You get to a point where you're just going to burn yourself out. At least that's how I felt. So if you're trying to get 3 million and grow from there, you have to let other people in, and you have to teach them your ways and trust them to do the right job. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck. I think it's going to be really hard to grow past that point.
Would you say the next cap is about 5?
I think you go 5, and then you go 7, and then you go 10, and I think that's the general progression that I've seen. I think you and I have talked about the 20 clubs.
Yeah.
And that's been a big help to me over the years. It's, the National Association of Home Builders. A 20 club is basically up to 20 remodelers of like size, but nobody is in competing markets. And you talk about everything. It's open book, so these other companies know everything about my company. They see everything in my accounting software. And what one person hasn't learned yet, you learn from somebody else. And it's just been a great way for us to grow and kind of have a heads up to what's going to happen at that next level.
Yeah. Have you felt these plateaus?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you hit those, what's your advice to people? Do you hone in and try and really become more efficient and bump your margins up a little bit? Or what at those points until you make that next step of, okay, we're going to open up another location or whatever that next investment might be, what do you think goes on in that plateau area?
Well, first of all, I would say that I don't think going to the next plateau is the right thing for everybody. I think you got to know what you want. I mean, people can stay at 2 million and be very successful, have a nice life, make a good amount of money, and not kill yourself getting there. Well, each plateau for me was, I had to dig in and really make a commitment to do it. And they're hard. This last one for us with the new design center, that was a really hard one. That was a lot of work. I spent a lot of money, and, you got to take time to get that money back. And it's a lot of risk. It's almost like I felt when we were doing this, like I did 20 some years ago when I was starting the business. I could have just stayed where we were and probably done that for the rest of my career and been very successful. But to me, as you grow and you bring more people on and you have all these different roles, you feel, at least I felt, a sense of obligation to have a path forward, not just for myself, but for those other people within the company. Mm-hmm. And if you're not growing as a company, I don't care if you're a remodeler or what you do, people may not have a reason to want to stay around. They want something to look forward to. And I think this design center and this change to a second location for us really helped everybody feel involved because they were involved. They created this as much as I did, sometimes even more for some of the people. And now they have a path, they have a way to grow with the company and beyond.
Mm-hmm. I visited that showroom. It's insanely, it's beautiful and incredible, really. You have every piece of material that you guys use throughout a remodel, down to countertops, tile. It's incredibly impressive. And looking at the view from the outside, it's like, wow, that's amazing. I'm sure people say, I'd love to have that. But what was involved in creating that? I can't even imagine. How many years did you have?
From the idea, I maybe started with the idea 3 years before it actually opened. And then it started to get more and more serious. And we started hiring more people. And I said, okay, it's time. Let's make this happen. But I would say it was probably, I don't know, maybe 20 times the work that I thought it was going to be when we first went into it. But we just dug in so much that I was like, I'm not going back. And I know this is going to work. I know it's the right thing to do. But it was really, really hard to do. I think I always make the joke. I said, next time we do this, it's going to be much easier because, we know. But I don't know if there's going to be next time. But it was a lot of work, and just the coordination of not only, town approvals and, you're basically making a store location, and we've never done that before. We did enlist the help of, a consultant. She does these for Toll Brothers Homes, some of the bigger national builders, and she creates these design centers. She doesn't do the finishes or the material in them, but she takes you in the retail mindset of why you set it up the way you do, why you put your reception area where you put your reception area, why the conference room is where that is, and what you're seeing when you're looking at the conference room, and why this kitchen display is here, why you go to tile over here. And that was a big help to us. I think without her, we would probably be continuing to change things at a major pace until we got it right, even after it was complete. But because we took her advice and paid to have that advice, we really hit the ground running and have this layout done where now I walk through and I'm like, I don't know. There's certainly little things that I would always change, but the major way that the place is laid out, it's perfect. It's really well done. It was done with psychology of the consumer in mind. How do you get somebody to make a decision and not overthink it and move forward? Mm-hmm. And, we've only been open there for a few months now and had, a few clients come through, more than a few clients come through and make their selections. Mm-hmm. And it's happening faster at those meetings than it has ever happened for me in my 20 some years of doing this.
Really?
Yeah.
I can tell you from walking through it, I don't think I would change anything. Not that you care what I think, but
of course I do.
It flowed perfect. The only thing that drove me nuts, and I told you this, was in your displays, you have to show different fixtures or different knobs and handles. So you've got a kitchen set. Yeah. You got a kitchen set with different hardware on it for each cabinet, and that drives me nuts.
That was one of the tough things. So I don't know how much you paid attention, but there's 3 functioning different kitchens in there. And if you take one of the kitchens and you stand back and look at it, it's stunning. It's beautiful. But you look at cabinets on the wall and they're an inset. You look at the cabinets on the island and they're an overlay. You look at a cabinet over on the side and it's partial, but it all flows together. And to do that type of thing killed me because you would never do that in a home.
Yeah.
But it works so well so that when a client is there, you could say, well, this is the inset. You turn your head and there's the same thing in the different style, or, whether you're talking about finishes on a hardware, there's one hardware on the island, another one on the perimeter. So they can just really see the contrast of things close together and really make a informed, quick decision.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever, throughout that process, think, this is not the right decision?
No, I don't think I ever thought it was not the right decision. I think I was like, what am I thinking? This is nuts. This is a lot of work. But it was, I always knew it was the right decision. You know, and we had a grand opening. We actually had 2 grand opening events in May, and both times I was almost overwhelmed just kind of getting the reaction from people that walked in and were able to see it for the first time. And when you're in something and you're doing it for 2 years, you kind of get used to it. You become accustomed to it. But seeing people's general reaction coming in and just being blown away by the spaces makes it worth it.
Is it better than you expected it to be?
It's way better than I expected it to be.
Yeah.
When we went into it, we definitely wanted it to be nice. But it was every time we came to a point where we could make another decision and we could go another level, we did. We just kept making it better, every decision that we made.
Mm-hmm. You have how many design offices in that?
There's 3 designers in there.
Yeah. What point did you bring on a designer? You can answer that however you want. If you want to say revenue-wise or size-wise as far as staffing goes, like when did you feel that necessary to bring in-house designers?
It's been several years now since our first designer, Nicole Gurney, came on. And she's still there today, and she's helping to lead the design department. She does a fantastic job. And she just kind of helped develop that role with me at that time. And it worked so well, just to see that now you have a client that you're not giving them a sales agreement and saying, hey, go pick out your cabinets over here, and go pick out your tile at the tile store, and go pick out your paint, go pick out your floor, another one, and hope it all works. You have somebody that's packaging that all together for them. Mm-hmm. And I think it was probably about 6 years ago that we really started doing that, and that also just snowballed from there. And the other thing that I've noticed is not that we're trying to upsell clients by any means, but what's happened is they feel so engaged with this. And if let's just say you're doing a kitchen, and now all of a sudden they're like, okay, they have the 3D renderings, they have all these things in front of them to see, and they're like, okay, I'm comfortable with this company, I'm comfortable with this project. Now I see these 10 things I can do to take it to the next level. Let's do those 10 things. Mm-hmm. Where in the past, they didn't really have that optic to see that, to know to move forward with those additional things. So the project sizes are just continuing to increase, and not because we're pushing it, just because the client gets engaged in the process.
Before you had this showroom in Clifton Park, did that designer go to the vendors with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have another design center in Del Mar, which is a fraction of the size of what we have up in Clifton Park. It's very beautiful down in Del Mar, but it's one big open room, with the big kitchen display and some built-ins and flooring and cabinets or countertops and tile and that kind of stuff. But that was more to get the client to that space, go over floor plans, get the ideas going, and then they would take the client and go out to all these different vendors. So you're talking about a significant amount of time when you have a client that has to go all over the capital region. You're not doing it in a day. Very rare are you going to get somebody to do a whole kitchen and bathroom in a day going to all these places, because it's hard to remember everything. Even if you take a door sample with you, it's just different. You're not getting a good picture of what everything is.
Right.
Or the new location, we actually have this area. I think I might have showed you. There's a pull out where you put the flooring that you selected, you lay it down, you take your cabinet door, you put it on top of that. You take your countertop sample, you actually take your faucet. We did backsplash boards that they actually match the height of a regular backsplash height, so you can see the full pattern that you're going to have. Take the paint boards and you put it all together right there. It's like, that's everything you just picked.
Yeah.
You either say, yes, I love it, or you look at it and you're like, no, I want to keep going. You don't like that paint color, you walk across the room and you get another board and you put everything together. Mm-hmm. Instead of trying to remember what it was on the other side of town, to look at everything together.
I'm sure there's a lot of upkeep too, because you're constantly filtering out different products, right?
Yeah, that's something that, it's a learning curve for us, and we knew it was going to be a challenge. So far, it hasn't been too bad, but things are going to go. They're going to stop making a faucet. We already had 3 faucets that we put on display that they're discontinuing, or for whatever reason they're not available anymore. Mm-hmm. So you have to keep up on that. But one of the things that we did that I'm proud of is just about everybody that we've worked with for years. We have a lot of great partnerships with vendors in the area for things from cabinets, tile, paint, flooring. We still have those same relationships. So instead of take Best Tile, for example. Instead of us taking a client to Best Tile, Best Tile stuff that we curated from them, we said, okay, these are the ones that we like the most. I don't know, maybe 150 tiles. we have on display in there. And Best Tile works with us to make sure that, okay, if this one's going out of stock or this one's discontinued, we're going to let you know and we're going to get something in there to replace it. Mm-hmm. So having those relationships still in place is a great thing for us.
Yeah. Is that something that the designers handle as well? Is communicating with those suppliers to filter out that material?
It's kind of all hands on deck right now.
Yeah.
But also we're getting it into our catalog within Builder Trends, so it's easier to maintain it. You know, so if you have a tile in there, it's in the database.
Yeah.
We also created, Antonio helped create this, Antonio's our marketing manager, an app. So there's the touch screens all over the walls. So if you're looking at a particular faucet, and you know we have plenty of faucets on display in different colors, but let's say you're looking for one that's in black and we only have it in brushed nickel, you go over, it's a touch screen, you touch it, you go to the plumbing, you touch that faucet, and it brings up pictures of what else is available, what all the other finishes are. Same thing for cabinets, for flooring. So it's just, you can just see everything there.
So bringing on those, like the marketer, the designers, or any other key employees, what are some signs that, okay, now it's time to make a big hire like that? Because obviously, you know, when you bring someone on, you're going to take a hit. Let's say it's 20% or whatever it is, because you're paying someone for a position that maybe you were handling or someone else was handling. Allows you to step away and focus on growing. So there's a lag, right? What are some key indicators that are like, all right, my troops, we were talking earlier about listening to Dave Ramsey,
Yep.
right, in his Entre Leadership. And he talks about your supply lines and how you never advance without your supply lines full, and then you advance, you know.
Yep.
What are your supply lines? How do you know when to advance or make another hire in one of those key positions?
I think for me,
Other than messing up.
well, that is absolutely a big part of it. Messing up, or, you know, when all of a sudden you find yourself in the office every Saturday, you know, that's an indicator to me. It's time to, whatever that position is, to take the next step. But, you know, the key roles that we've really added in the last few years is more designers, marketing managers. We'll take the marketing manager for one. You know, we always worked with some outside agencies, you know, and it worked. And they did marketing for us, and we'd give them an idea, and they'd kind of take it and run with it. But they don't really know your voice. They don't really know your company. They're not in the office every single day. They don't really know what you're about unless you're just telling them. So it got to the point where I was spending so much time feeding them the information that, you know, we started to think, well, why don't we just see if we can get somebody in-house to do this, and then they'll create the ideas, and they'll be able to just do it right there on the spot. And that was a big one for me. That was one of those ones where I said, okay, this is going to be a lot of money to make this happen. And just like everybody else in the past where I've hired those types of positions, all of a sudden you're 6 months or a year in and you're like, okay, yeah, I should have done that a while ago.
Yeah.
You know, it's always that nerve-wracking hit, but every one of those key hires I've ever made, I have not regretted adding that position on anything so far.
With a marketer, I feel like it might be a little bit, the math is simpler, right? Like if you're spending $100,000 a year on marketing,
yeah,
you can hire somebody in-house to do it and pay them $100,000.
And you can quantify that. You can see the results.
Yeah.
Where some other things you can't necessarily see the results so easily.
Yeah. So how did you handle it on things that you couldn't see results? Like, all right, I need another project manager, or.
I mean, I think the biggest one for me that, you know, it wasn't really a defined role. There was somebody that worked for me, and actually didn't work for me at the time. This woman works for me now, but she said, I have this friend who is looking for a position. I'm like, well, I'm not really hiring for anything right now. And she said, just interview her, you know. And I said, as a courtesy, I said, okay, I'll do that. And I interviewed her, Julie DeRossi, who I don't think you met there. She's our general manager now.
Yep.
And it was one of those instances where I'm like, I don't know what I need her for, but I need her. Like, she's that good. I could just tell. And she became our general manager, and she's become my filter. So you get to a point where everything has to go through you. You know, all the decisions have to go through you. If there's a problem, it goes to you. And that's where people get frustrated and start to get burnt out. And having her in that position has really just been able to give me peace of mind that somebody else has my back with these types of decisions and is able to make these kind of decisions, and frees me up to do everything else. Mm-hmm. So that general manager position really has changed, you know, my approach to business.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a formula now? And if you do, and you feel comfortable sharing it, I'd love to hear it. But For employee structure, carpenters to foreman to super to, designer, like what are those ratios? Do you follow what I'm asking?
I mean, the way that our system is set up, we do a lot of subcontractors for a lot of the work that we perform. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our work is project management. We certainly do almost all of the finish work, but the work leading up to that finish work is done by a lot of others. So we don't need a ton of, just carpenters in the field. We just need people that can make sure that the work's supposed to be getting done is getting done on time, and getting done right. The job sites are clean. And, so the whole lead carpenter, laborer, we do have those titles, but I would say the lines are blurred based on the jobs that we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Do your supers handle, is that what you call them? Job supers or
project managers?
Project managers. Do they handle one project at a time?
Oh no, there's many more than that. Yeah. I mean, we can have anywhere between, I don't know, maybe 6 to 15 at any given time. And, some of those are just starting, some are just ending, some are right in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. So we have a really good system of how we start jobs and how long we wait till the next one is so we don't stumble. We're not short on labor in one spot and, heavy in another. We got a good pattern going.
Oh, okay. I see. So you're really evaluating that schedule.
Oh yeah. Yep. I mean, I wouldn't say we 100% stick to what we have forecasted out for a year, but if we're going to give a client a start date months in advance and they get through the design the way that they should, we're going to be within a couple of weeks of that start date that we told them originally. Mm-hmm. We're just pretty good about that schedule.
What are some key performance indicators that you guys look at?
Financially or production wise?
Both.
Because there's a tremendous amount of them. Financially, there's a lot too. I mean, obviously you have your P&Ls, but to me that's kind of an afterthought. I like to look at jobs every week. Check the budgets, which again is a nice feature through our project management portal that you can look at. Cash balances, current ratios, all of those things that are just indicators of how you're doing over time. So you can really check and see where your numbers are. And you see patterns. If you have enough data, if you have data going back a few years and you know how you've been doing, and all of a sudden your numbers start to change, that there's something to look out for. Right. Whether it's tracking, how long does the design take? How long does the production of a job take? How far out is your lead time? That's a big one to me. If you get down to a certain, too low of a level, you got some problems. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, we haven't been there in a while, but
yeah. So then on the production side of things, what are you looking at?
Production side of things, we meet once a week. So our project managers come in. We actually did this morning at 7:00 every Thursday morning, and we go through every single job. And we really look at every schedule. Are we on track with the schedule? Are we on track with the budget? And when are the next job starts coming? Is there any warranty stuff? All of those different things just give you kind of the insight into how all the projects are going. So there's not necessarily one key metric for me for the production side. It's just a lot of things combined that tell you how well you're performing.
Okay. Excuse me. On the financial side, I think construction can be tough to track because of the different phases of projects, and depending on how your pricing is structured and your draw schedule. How often do you close your books and look at things?
Every month.
Every month?
Yep. Yeah, every month. Our accounting people give me a report, so we call it our dashboard, our updated dashboard. And this is a fairly new system to us. We've always done something, but we've changed it over the last probably about a year. And that has, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 different key metrics on it. And that's what, like I was referring back to, is you have a couple of years worth of data that we've pulled. So we have it set up as a chart too, so you can see, how you are compared to last year or the year before. Whether it's, if you're looking at sales and all of a sudden, okay, it's June and last year we had 15 sales in June and this year we have 3. Why is that?
Yeah.
And this helps you look and see where you are and what you need to change.
Mm-hmm. So growing in those early stages of business, what do you think the most beneficial hire you ever made was?
I don't know. It was a new hire, but it was the project management position was one of the first key ones, because that was when I started to step out of the field so much. And we maybe we weren't as clear on it at that point where we're saying, hey, now you're the project manager. But as I stepped away, they stepped into the role. And eventually we said, okay, now you're the project manager. I'm going to get out of the way and let you manage these projects. But that was, I mean, if you think about it, if you're managing these jobs and you're still trying to do everything else, you can't do it all well. There's just not enough time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's a hard hump to get over, I think.
You know, I don't know that. I mean, as far as stepping out of the field?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that hard for me.
Finding somebody to fill that role is
Yeah.
difficult today. And I mean, that guy was with you organically, right? For a while. Yeah.
Yeah. That's John. There's John and Bob. They're my two project managers now, and they've both been with me for a very, very long time, and they just grew into those positions.
What's your biggest inhibitor from growing?
Me. Like I said, it's just getting me out of the way with different things.
Yeah.
Getting me out of the way with, and we need to bring in people to do more sales. We need people for estimating. Those are really the last two things that I am really needed for in the business. So if I can get out of the way with those, I think it'll open more doors for us.
I think you'll be bored.
I won't be bored. No. I have plenty to do, and I work a lot still. I really do, and not that I don't want to work a lot. I love working, but my mind goes. There's plenty of things I'd like to do. I'd love to say that, and I did say that we get to the point with the design center, and I'm good for a while, and I kind of am, but I'm already thinking, okay, what's next?
Yeah. What is next?
I don't know. I don't know.
You get back into property management?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I do love buying properties. We started buying in 2007-ish. We bought at least a property a year ever since then. And this might be the first year that I may not since then buy a property because we were so involved with the design center and all that work. But I would like to get back to doing more of that.
Do you see this something that can grow out of the Capital District?
I think it could. I don't know that that's what I want. Yeah, I'm pretty content on that now. I think every new location, every next level is another level of stress, and I'm not 30 anymore. It's
Really? No, you don't look that old. Come on. The Clifton Park store, you spend most of your time there now, right?
No, I don't actually.
no?
I kind of split between both.
Okay.
Again, Del Mar is 5 minutes from my house, so I like going there. But yeah, maybe there's about 50-50.
Looking at your team and culture, though, how are you hiring today in a very difficult environment? And do you have a culture that you use as to your advantage to kind of pitch out there as why you want to come work with us? What are some of the things that bring people in?
I think when you're marketing, and you're branding, you're not just marketing to clients, but you're marketing to people that want to work for you. And that is a big thing to me, that when people do come on, we're really a place that they want to be. And a lot of my past hires have been in the industry, whether it was, a remodeler or a builder or, a supplier type of position. And I'm going to say that, unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people in our industry that don't provide great working environments. They may not be the best employers, and it's kind of the old school mentality. And that's not at all the way that I try to approach it. So I want it to be, a welcoming environment. Obviously, you need to get your work done, and you need to be good at what you do. But that's not number one when we're interviewing somebody. We do our best to look at that personality and how's that person going to mesh with everybody else. And it's amazing how much you have to think about that as you grow, because it just takes one person to throw that all out the window when you get one bad apple in an office, and it can go downhill quickly. It is hard to find good people now, and I don't know if that's going to change, especially if you're talking about the field end of things. It's there's not people coming into it at the rate that they were 20, 30 years ago, and people are retiring out of it. So trying to make it as appealing as possible for what we do. I mean, it can be fun, but it's also a lot of hard work. as far as finding the people ourselves, I've almost given up on that. We work with some recruiters that we're always recruiting. It's not like there's never a time where we're not looking for, whether it's a designer or a carpenter or a project manager. I always say if you have these ads out and you have a person that our recruiters now know who we are. They know our business. They really fit our culture and they fit our company. I'll interview them. Whether we're ready for them or not, I might take them on. Because once you get a hold of that good person, you got to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah. I would say that's one of the most frustrating pieces to the puzzle in this industry. We've been trying to find people for a long time, and that's one of the key things that's blocking us from the next level. Like, I'm tapped out.
Yeah.
Kristen's tapped out in our office, and we need some more people. We're not taking on. We're very selective with our projects, which is a good thing. You're landing the ones that you want, but we have some coming in that we can't handle, and we need to grow to that next level. And finding those key players has been extremely difficult. That's one of the reasons I asked you that, is because I don't know the secret sauce to it. We've tried Indeed, we've tried ZipRecruiter, we've talked to young kids. We have some young kids that come on in the summer that we tell them spread the word, and you almost have to grow them in-house now, which is fine. You get somebody that's very green. It's a lot of work goes into that, and it can be frustrating, but.
And then you hope they stay. Yeah. I mean, I think, part of the appeal of working for us is, it tends to be a cleaner environment. We have the nice office space. If you're talking about a designer, I mean, you look in our design spaces and the offices are stunning. You don't really see that around here. So it's kind of a step up to, okay, this is a place I could see myself sitting every day. I could work in here. And if you're a carpenter, we try to have newer vehicles that are kept clean and good tools and just a clean, good work environment. And I think that goes a long way now too.
Mm-hmm. Do you work out of trucks or trailers?
Trucks, big trucks, box trucks.
Okay.
Yeah, like we actually just switched, we bought our first Mercedes Sprinter, which the one that has that, he loves it. But for years, long time, we have the Chevy Express box trucks that, we have I think we have a 12, a 15, 16, a couple 12s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We have trailers and one Sprinter van as well.
I saw your van today. It looks very nice.
Yeah, thank you.
A little advertisement.
Well, we're thinking about rebranding, so all that's going to come off the side.
We'll have to talk.
Yeah. But those vans, I don't think I'll ever buy another box trailer.
Yeah.
I mean, they're nice in this fact you can go park them on site, right? And they're there. It's like a mobile workstation. Yep. But, as you step out of the field, like I have, I'm the only one that can move that trailer.
Yeah.
So if you put a guy in a van, everywhere they go, they've got all their tools on them, and they're pretty big. If you're efficient with the way you organize them, you can fit everything from, concrete to tile in that.
Yeah.
I think.
And they're very comfortable.
Incredibly comfortable.
Yeah, I got in. I could not believe the level of comfort. It's come a long way since the pickup trucks I used to drive.
Did you get the diesel one or no?
Yes.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues with ours yet. It's a few years old, and I like driving it.
Do you?
Yeah. I got the windows tinted, so it's like incognito when I'm in there, but it's
incognito. You have your name on the side. It's not
I don't
very
want people to know I'm sitting in there. No. That is, I think a lot of it's the industry is turning over to those vans. They're a little bit more stylish than the old express vans used to be.
Definitely.
The free candy vans that I call them.
I'll get in the back of that one.
But are you going to stop with the express trucks?
I kind of leave that up to them. Now we have one of, or more than one of the box trucks and one of the Mercedes. So, if they feel like they can set up the Mercedes Sprinter better and that's what they want next, then that's what we'll buy. If they want the bigger box trucks, we'll buy that.
Since you have that second location now, are any of your guys up north that use that?
Yep.
So it's made it more convenient for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so one of our newer carpenters lives right on the corner from the new location, and then one of our designers also lives right around the corner. So
perfect.
It's I think that is also part of it. They saw that work going on. They saw that. They contacted us. So that's helped us to recruit.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Is your work pushing north? Do you feel?
Yes. And that was a big part of this too. You know, Del Mar, Bethlehem area, it's great, but it does limit you because it's not a huge population down there. And, you know, we got to a certain revenue limit where I said, I don't know that we're going to really be able to grow too much past this without really expanding our work footprint. So when we started thinking about doing the new design center, we wanted to go up the Northway. I wasn't necessarily originally thinking all the way up to Clifton Park, but it just, once I started doing the checking the demographics and everything, it just really seemed to work out. That was the right spot, because if you have a client that's in Del Mar and they're signing a contract with us, they still aren't going to have any problem coming to Clifton Park for 4 hours to make their selections. If their other option is to drive for 2 days all over the capital region to do that, to do the same.
Right.
So Clifton Park just kind of naturally worked for us, and we're really not aiming to go too much farther up from Clifton Park right now, but we are getting a lot of calls in that area just because of the presence.
When I walked through that showroom, it was staffed. You guys had just opened. You had some open spots for growth in there, office-wise. Were you just crazy clumped in Del Mar, or did you hire people right off the rip when you opened?
No, we were crazy stuffed in Del Mar, but we also did hire in anticipation of opening Clifton Park. We were so stuffed in Del Mar that we actually had to rent some space from the place next door, the bank next door, just to be able to park. Yeah, I mean, there'd be days where I'd go to pull in the office, and if there's a client there and the guy stopped by, like you just couldn't park. There was nowhere to park. So
it's tight down there anyways in Del Mar, most of it, right?
I don't think it's too bad, no.
Where's your office?
Right on Delaware Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the major business district, if you could call that.
Not like that Four Corners area.
That's a mile
can
away.
Get congested.
Oh, yeah,
right?
that is.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to do some quick lightning questions for you. I want your first answer, first thing off the top of your head. Even if it's inappropriate, I don't care. Favorite project you ever done?
I don't think I have a favorite project. I mean, we've done so many that just have so many unique, good characters. Somebody has asked me this before, and I don't really know that I have one project that was my favorite.
The one that made the most money? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Worst job you ever took on? Can you remember that?
I don't want to talk about that one.
Okay, but
we all have that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Was that recent or
more recent?
Okay. Yeah. So even as you get farther along in business, you'll have some rough projects.
Oh yeah, I think we do a really good job of I don't want to say evaluating personalities, but getting to know the clients ahead of time. But sometimes they pull one past you and they're not good people.
Yeah. I've dealt with that.
Yeah. I think we're all going to deal with that in business. It's never going to go away. No matter how hard you try, you're going to come across those.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it was recent. Fair enough. I understand you want to bring it up. And then one business book or podcast that changed the way you think.
The E-Myth Revisited.
What is that?
The E-Myth Revisited. So
okay.
it is a Michael Gerber wrote the book, and it's all about how to grow a business and why most businesses don't succeed, and that really has changed the way I've approached business. And I've actually been doing their business coaching as well. After I read the book, I found out that they had these platforms, and I've been doing that for probably about 5 years, and it's helped me scale, no doubt about it.
Oh, neat.
Yeah,
it's called
It's the E-Myth. So if you just look up the E-Myth, you'll get the book.
Are you an avid reader?
I listen to a lot of books on tape while I drive.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience at night to sit around and
I get that. I get that 100%. Last question. Somebody getting into the industry that wants to focus on renovations and remodels, what advice do you have for them?
Ask others. Excuse me. Ask other people that are in the industry. I think when I started, I thought there was this wall between myself and every other company that they're not going to want to help you, but just like you and I sitting here having this conversation now and, me offering this information, once I started to engage with other people in the industry, even if they were, businesses that were very similar to mine and very close to mine, it's amazing how much people want to see other people succeed within this business. And I can tell you that now I love it. I mean, if you give me a talk business, if it's a new business or it's an older business, I'll talk business all day long, but just engage other people. They will help you.
Yeah.
The Capital Region Builders and Remodelers Association. I've actually told that same story as part of that association. I joined it because I thought I needed, this is going way, way back. I thought I needed that as, okay, hey, I am part of this professional association, but I didn't get involved and I didn't reach out to people because I felt like, why do I want to tell them what I'm doing? Why do I want to, give stuff to them? And then once I let that guard down, it's just changed everything for me. It's been a great source of growing knowledge from other businesses.
I totally agree with that. And we were talking before the show. That's one of the main reasons we started this, is because there was such an ideology across the construction industry that it's like there's these secrets and these sacred techniques that people don't want to share or don't want to help. And I started meeting a group of guys like Anthony that we both know that really want to help. And that inspired us. I always like helping people. I've got friends that they've been in business longer than me that I call, they give me advice or they call me and we bounce ideas off each other. So to be able to get that out there and help people by doing this is awesome.
Yeah, I think Anthony's a great example. He's kind of the guy that's been around for a while and he knows everybody and he wants to help anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody that's in this business that he can talk to and give some information to get them to the next level. I think he's a perfect example. He would do that.
I think he would rather help people than build now. I think that's kind of the stage where he's at. He's like, I joke, I call him Grandpa sometimes because but
you're younger
he will.
Than I am.
He'll talk to you on the phone for 2 hours if you need his advice.
Yeah.
And that's pretty rare in this industry. It's fun when you come across people like that.
Yep.
Yourself included. So thank you, Greg, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We're about out of time here. It was good to scratch the surface with you, kind of get a general idea what your business is. I'm sure I'm going to ask you back, so send me that calendar.
Send an invite again.
But thank you, everybody, for listening. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure you check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're on TikTok now, all the social media platforms. With me today is Gregg Biche. I said that right, Greg? Yeah. Of Quality Design and Remodel. Thanks again for coming. I really appreciate it and hope you had a good time.
I had a great time. Thanks for having me.
All right. See you guys next time.